Last names are a huge problem when one talks about Serbian history. Serbs didn't have family names. Serbs had patronymic last names derived from their fathers' names. The suffix "ich" translates as little or successor of. This means each generation of the same family had different last name. Stefan Lazarević was son of Prince Lazar Hrebeljanović. If Stefan Lazarević had children, they would have been called Stefanović. Family names started to appear among Serbs by 19th century. Nemanjić dynasty never used this last name. Modern historians use last name Nemanjić to describe descendants of Stefan Nemanja. In late 17th century, many Serbs moved to Habsburg Empire. This event is known as Great Serb Migration or Exodus. Habsburg authorities insisted Serbs had to have family names. Serbs living in Habsburg Empire got family names before Serbs in Serbia did. Some Serbs wanted to be witty and chose insulting last names. The last name Guzonja means big ass. Prince Miloš became ruler of Serbia in 1817. He is well known as Obrenović. Obren was the name of his stepfather. Miloš is sometimes called Teodorović after his real father Teodor. Miloš Obrenović and Miloš Teodorović are the same person. Most Serbian last names have suffix "ich", but not all of them. Serbs often added "ich" later. The last name Popov became Popović. But some people kept their original last names. Now there are Popov and Popović families. Foreigners who moved to Serbia also sometimes added "ich" to their last names. Serbs are not the only nation with suffix "ich". Often it is impossible to tell nationality based on the last name. Ante Marković was a famous Yugoslav politician. He was ethnic Croat. However, many Serbs have last name Marković. Mirjana Marković was the wife of Slobodan Milošević. I watched some documentary about Yugoslav wars. One Croat said that his son was murdered because his name sounded Serbian. Some Bosnian Muslims want to remove suffix "ich" from their last names. They connect suffix "ich" with Serbs. Should Serbs have exclusive right to "ich"? This is a very interesting topic. I have no problem with people removing "ich" from their last names. It's their last names and they have right to change them. Non-Serbs often claim that Serbs forced them to add "ich" to their last names. But non-Serbs who lived in Habsburg Empire had suffix "ich". Example, Ante Trumbić was a Croat politician born in Split in 1864. Were Balkan nations unique in their lack of family names? Most Europeans during medieval times had no family names. They were often called by their profession. Gradually, Europeans adopted last names. Why did Balkan nations remain without family names? Turks had no family names until 1920s. Ataturk reformed Turkey. One of the reforms was adoption of family names. The last Serbs who adopted family names were one draftees. Most people in Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia and Montenegro have family names with suffix "ich". Slovenians have suffix "ich" instead of "ich". Don't worry if you cannot distinguish letters ch and ch. Many locals often mix them up. Macedonians have suffix "ski". But there are people with suffix "ich" in both Slovenia and Macedonia. Some family names are matronymic. Researchers believe that widows and single mothers were heads of the households. The family was named after them. Examples of matronymic last names are Katic, derived from Kata, and Maric, derived from Mara. Matronymic last names are usually shorter than patronymic. Many last names derived from nicknames. Lazar is usually nicknamed Laza. Thus, there are families Lazic and Lazarevich. How can you tell if one family is related to the other? This is almost impossible to do in many cases. People are often asked about their slava. Slava is a traditional ritual of glorification of one family patron saint. Slava means glory in Serbian. Every Serbian family has patron saint. It is assumed that the family shares the same last name and slava. But telling kinship by slava is not a perfect way. People sometimes change their slava. I read about one man who barely survived a terrible car accident. He believed that saint whose day it was protected him. The man switched his slava to glorify his new protector. Then there are most common slavas like Saint Nicholas or Saint George. Two unrelated families can celebrate Saint Nicholas. Sometimes you will see word Haji added in front of the first or last name. Serbs add Haji to their names if they went on pilgrimage to the grave of Christ in Jerusalem. If Haji stands in front of the first name, then the person went to Jerusalem. Example, Haji Petar Petrović. But if Haji stands in front of the last name, then the person's ancestor visited Jerusalem. Example, Petar Hadži Petrović. Serbian Haji is similar to Arabic Haji. Arabic Haji is a honorific title given to Muslims who completed Hajj to Mecca. The addition of Haji means that Petrović and Hadži Petrović families might share ancestor. How can a person do genealogical research? At best, one can trace their ancestors to the early 19th century. Old church books are mostly destroyed. It is impossible to find records of births, marriages, and funerals. Are there other complications about last names? Of course there are. Serbs have a saying, "Why should it be simple when it can be complicated?" Some Serbs added second last name. It can be a nickname or the name of their birthplace. Serb composer Stevan Stojinović Mokranjac originated from the village Mokranje. Serb mathematician Mihailo Petrović Alas liked to fish. Alas is Serbian word for river fisherman. Serb linguist Vuk Stefanović Karadžić had both patronymic and family names. What about women? Most women used to take their husband's last name. Since women started having careers, they began adding husband's last name to their own. Serb historian Jovanka Kalić, while she was married, was known as Jovanka Kalić Mjušković. There are also women who keep their last names after getting married. Serbian law also allows men to take his wife's last name. In the past, women were registered by their father's or husband's name. Example, Ana Stevanova. Ana belongs to Stevan. Ana can be Stevan's daughter or wife. When married to Obren, Ana Stevanova would become Ana Obrenova. This slightly changed since family names were adopted. Ana's full name would be Ana Stevanova Prokić. When married to Obren Glišić, Ana became Ana Obrenova Glišić. This changed yet again. Now women keep father's name without suffix ova. Ana Stevan Prokić, after getting married, becomes Ana Stevan Glišić. In everyday life, Ana would sign documents as Ana Prokić or Ana Glišić. She can also sign as Ana S. Prokić with the letter S referring to her father's name. Am I fine with this? Yes, because the same naming rules apply to men. Ana's brother would be Bogdan Stevanov Prokić and now Bogdan S. Prokić. In everyday life, Serbs don't use father's name. Serbs prefer to use only first names. Many people in Serbia introduce themselves using only first name. You could be friendly with Anna without knowing her last name. Sometimes it is inevitable to use last names. When I went to high school, there were 5 girls named Milica in my class. We had to use their last names. Father's name becomes important if there are several people with the same first and last name. In colloquial language, father's name is referred to as srednje slovo, English middle letter. Instead of middle name, Serbs have middle letter. Some Serb last names are as common as Smith and Jones in Britain. These are 10 most common Serb last names: Jovanović, Petrović, Nikolić, Marković, Stojanović, Ilić, Stanković, Pavlović, and Milošević. This means that many Serbs with last name Milošević are not related to former President Slobodan. Are all Serb last names derived from ancestors' names? Huge majority indeed is, but not all of them. The last name Kovačević comes from Kovač, which means blacksmith in English. Tufekđić comes from Tufekđija, which is an archaic word for armorer. Often villagers from one village share the same last name. Some researchers think the villagers took the last name during census or military draft. This would mean villagers don't have the same ancestors. Due to the lack of historical sources, this cannot be proved or disproved. There is also a way to tell if the woman has maiden or married last name. Prokićeva is the daughter of Prokić. Prokićka is the wife of Prokić. Many Serbs make mistake and mix this. Prokićka is often used for both daughter and wife. Nowadays, calling someone Prokićka might sound rude. Gospođa Prokić or Mrs. Prokić is much more polite. During communist Yugoslavia, she would have been called Drugarica Prokić. Drug and Drugarica were Yugoslav male and female versions of comrade. Literal translation would be friend. Some Serbs today have 2 last names. Serbian law allows Serbian citizens to have maximum 3-word names. This is the reason why you will never find Serb with 6 first names or 3 last names. What are the reasons for Serbs to have 2 last names at birth? I knew a boy who had famous ancestor on his mother's side. Thus he got both his father's and mother's last names. Most babies with 2 last names got them from each of their parents. Serb footballer Sergej Milinković-Savić was born in Spain and was named according to Spanish customs. Spanish names comprise of a given name and the first surname of each parent. The suffix "ić" still sparks debates in the Balkans. Far-right Serbs believe that anyone with suffix "ić" is in fact Serb. Far-right Croats believe that true Croats don't have suffix "ić." Discussing last names can become very ugly. My advice to foreigners is to never assume someone's ethnicity based on their last name. Even locals cannot tell the ethnicity based on the name alone.